record them, I would need a band.
Right.
So I found a bass player and a drummer who were from Santa Ana. That was Bob Carlisle and Efren Espinosa. And then I found a lead guitar player from LA, a guy named Craig Hull. And I hired them to play on some demos for me. I was recording at a friend's little studio in his garage in Palm Springs, which is where I grew up. So for the first 3 or 4 sessions, I was just paying Bob and Efren and Craig to play on my demos. But we enjoyed playing together a lot, and we just sort of unanimously agreed to start our own band. And we decided to call it Billy Thermal. Well, I decided to call it Billy Thermal because my name's Billy, and Thermal is the town the vineyards were in. So that's how that band came together.
Okay. And then I read through the booklet and the CD again. How long did it take before you acquired the deal with Planet Records?
I would say it was about 1.5 years. And we used to play, and we played in all these different little venues in Los Angeles. And Richard Perry, who was a record producer who also had his own label, Planet, he came and he sent some of his A&R people first to scout us. And then when he got good reports back from them, he came out to hear us, and he offered us a deal.
Okay. So you guys were lined up to make a full album?
Yes.
Yes.
The very first thing we did for Planet Records, they released a compilation album of songs by new wave bands, and the album was called Sharp Cuts.
Yeah.
And my song, I'm Gonna Follow You, by Billy Thermal, that was on that album. That was my first venture with Planet Records. And then we got signed, and then we moved forward to make our complete album.
So, considering all the clubs in the area, I'm sure you guys are probably with a lot of really artists during the time frame.
The connection was cutting out. I really didn't hear your.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I was saying, considering the time frame and the whole Los Angeles club scene, I'm sure you guys were on the same bill with a lot of amazing bands for shows.
You know, we really were not on the same shows with some amazing bands. It seemed like all the big new wave acts were already big, like I said, the Cars and Elvis Costello and acts like that. And in LA, we were playing in small venues with just other acts that were trying to scratch their way up, but nobody really special.
Oh, okay. So I remember when I watched the trailer for this album when it was going to be released, I saw that you guys had made a music video for "I Tell You My Dream." When was that made?
Well, that was made actually later. It was, I don't remember the year exactly, but we sort of made that retroactive to the whole thing. It would have
Oh,
been, it would have been probably in the mid 1980s, long after the band had broken up.
oh, okay. And then the album, the EP with some Billy Thermal songs that came out back in, I think, 83, 84. Was that your decision to put that out too?
Yeah, well, what happened is when, you know, when the first group of new wave acts came on the market, people like the Cars and the Talking Heads, they became very popular. So then
Yeah,
every record company decided they had to go all over the country signing new wave bands. So
yeah,
they signed a lot of bands, and then a lot of those bands, the second wave of signings, they didn't do very well.
right,
So when by the time our record was finished, Planet Records decided not to release it.
oh
So
yeah,
my lawyer negotiated for me to retain ownership of the masters,
okay,
so I could do whatever I wanted with it. And I found this small label called Kinetic Records, and they wanted to release an EP. So by that time, Billy Thermal had broken up, but I said that I'd be fine with that. So he released it, very limited release. It wasn't something that very many people saw or
yeah.
yeah. And by the time that happened, I was writing songs with Tom Kelly, and we were starting to have success as writers. And so
Right.
I sort of moved on from Billy Thermal.
So, in regards to artists that covered songs by Billy Thermal, was Linda Ronstadt first?
Yeah, the first,
Yeah.
in fact, the fact that the fact that Linda Ronstadt covered How Do I Make You, it might have been one of the reasons why Planet Records dropped us, because
Oh,
I think they considered that to be our most viable single. And yet
yeah,
they had already given it away to Linda Ronstadt. So um, if I hadn't given that song to Ronstadt, it might have been released as a single on Planet Records by Billy Thermal. I don't regret giving it to Linda Ronstadt because that was my first breakthrough in the music business.
right.
Yeah, that was my first cut, was the Ronstadt How Do I Make You.
Did she, um, did you meet with her at that time about?
What did you say?
Did you?
Did you meet with Linda to personally offer it to her, or how did that work?
Well,
Well,
it started out that the guitar player in Billy Thermal, his name is Craig Hull.
Yeah.
His girlfriend at that time was a woman named Wendy Waldman.
Oh, yeah.
And Wendy was singing background vocals in Linda Ronstadt's band.
Oh, okay.
So without telling me, Wendy and Craig played the Billy Thermal demos for Linda, and she picked How Do I Make You?
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's how that happened.
And then how much more time after that did Pat Benatar do I'm Gonna Follow You from from your band?
Well, one thing that happened is I had written the song I'm Gonna Follow You, but then after that I wrote the song Precious Time.
Yeah.
So Pat Benatar and her husband Neil Giraldo, they heard the song Precious Time and they wanted that song.
Yeah.
But I had just written it and Planet Records thought it was a really good song and they didn't want me to give it away. So I offered Benatar, I'm Gonna Follow You, as a replacement for Precious Time. So she recorded
Okay.
I'm Gonna Follow You because I wasn't willing to give her Precious Time yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm Gonna Follow You is actually, that's one of my favorite tracks on your album and also on her Crimes of Passion album. I love the whole eeriness of the song and uh just the whole kind of creepy tone of it, but at the same time it goes from doing the eerie new wave sound to then that really hard rocking part. And I love that song.
I think when I wrote the song I'm Gonna Follow You, I was influenced by Elvis Costello's song Watching the Detectives.
Oh yeah, I can definitely hear that in that song.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then Precious Time, I know the first time I heard Benatar Benatar's version of that, and then as I was older and really studied the lyrics, uh, I came to realize that's a really personal song, lyric wise. Was that Who was that about in your life? If I can ask that.
Precious Time was written about my mother. My
Oh,
mother, when it says you talk on the telephone long distance to New York or Rome, some would say you've got it made. Your home is like a fortress. No one comes in but the florist, the gardener, and the maid. That was about my mother. And also, my mother used to use the expressions cut it out and drop it.
oh,
So I sort of quoted her in the chorus where it goes, cut it out, drop it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, uh, do you know at that time after that song came out? Uh, do you remember what your parents' reactions were? Was it ever clear to them that um, writing songs about your life in that regard?
Well, if my mother had listened to Precious Time and looked carefully at the words, it would have been obvious to her, but I don't remember us ever discussing it.
Oh, okay. And then, so after Benatar, then the third cover of your song was Rick Nelson.
The two Benatar songs, and then
Yeah.
the Rick Nelson song. I was very disappointed in his version of the song. I didn't think he did it well at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's
And
really,
also, in my song, it said, "Don't look at me with those big eyes," and he changed it to "Don't look at me with those sad eyes." And I asked his cousin why he changed it because his cousin was in the music publishing business, and she
oh,
said that Ricky Nelson's wife had big eyes, and the song is about jealousy, and
yeah.
that she was often jealous, and so he wanted it. He wanted to deflect from it, looking like it was about her or something. I don't know, but it wasn't.
Oh.
It was kind of not a very good recording.
Yeah, I agree with that. So going down, yeah, Price I Paid. That reminds me a lot of early Cheap Trick.
That's interesting. I never would have thought of that. I don't know what I always thought the Price I Pay of all the songs that we did had the most R&B influence. It seemed a little R&B, sort of pop R&B. I like that one. I don't know about Cheap Trick, but if you hear it, then maybe it's there.
Well, at the same time, I can see the R&B because it's very like 50s, 60s sounding too.
Yeah.
And then After Precious Time is I'm Your Baby, which that's a really cool song too. That's very new wave for the time.
Yeah, I like the line in it that says, "I'm a 29-year-old 9-year-old."
Yeah.
I wrote that song when I was 29, and I just
Yeah.
thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. And then They Didn't See It is also one of my favorite tracks on the album. That's very dark, very heavy. I actually have never heard a power pop song that's as dark as that. Was that also about someone you knew personally, like their experience?
Well, yes, that's a very, very personal song. It's about, first and foremost, it's about a friend of mine, a guy by the name of Steve Jameson. And he was a childhood friend in Fresno, California.
Okay.
And Steve was a wonderful athlete and student, and he was studying at Stanford University, one of the best schools in the country.
Yeah.
And he became schizophrenic.
Oh.
And when he became schizophrenic, he could no longer stay at Stanford, and he kind of went off the track. So
Right.
So the whole last verse of that song, where it says they found him praying in a playground, he told the children he was hungry. That sort of was actually something that happened, and he ended up in a mental institution.
Wow.
But to be honest with you, there's aspects of that song that are actually also about me, because when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have schizophrenia, but I had sort of what you'd call an anxiety disorder.
Okay.
And so when I wrote "The Air Was Full of Eucalyptus,"
Yes.
there was a big eucalyptus tree on the front lawn of the house I grew up in Fresno. And the concept of "they didn't see it," whether it was Steve Jameson's problem or whether it was something that led up to my own anxiety disorder, that our parents failed to identify these issues, and they didn't do anything to help until
Yeah.
it was too late. They didn't see it.
Yeah.
They didn't see it come until the hurt was done.
Right.
And when it says the boy just sat there strumming, that would be me playing my guitar, you know.
Yeah. Wow. That's the amazing backstory behind that song. Do you back then when you was that a song that was, do you remember the reaction from people at Planet or other band members about that song? Because it's so memorable to me from the album.
You know, for me, that album is there's two groups of song. The first group of songs were the ones that were written before I got signed to Planet. And they were all recorded as demos in Palm Springs in that little garage. And
Yeah.
those are the songs that we used to perform live in clubs in Los Angeles. And
Okay.
those songs were No Connection, Control, I Tell You My Dream, I'm Your Baby, How Do I Make You? And so those are the songs that got, and I'm going to follow you. Those are the songs that got us signed. And those are the songs that got a lot of reaction.
Okay.
By the time I wrote They Didn't See It, and I Need You, and a couple others, I was already signed, so the songs were never performed live. And
Oh,
I really didn't, they were looking for a hit single. And so I really didn't get very much reaction to They Didn't See It.
okay.
Unfortunately, I mean, I love that song, but
Yeah.
not many people really commented on it.
Okay. And the second track, that's second after that, I Need You is probably my single favorite song off the album. It just, I feel like that could have been a hit song.
Well, the chorus sure sounds like a hit. I don't think the verse sounds like a hit. The verse is a little bluesy, a little kind of hard rock kind of, and it's got some intense lyrics in it too.
Yeah.
The chorus, the whole I need some arms to hide in, I need someone to confide in, I need a
Yeah.
shoulder to cry on, I need someone to rely on. That part's really catchy. And
Yeah.
I think that sounds like it could have been a hit, but I don't know that the verses do. That song, I had a girlfriend at the time, and she actually was sexually abused by her father when she was a child.
Oh,
And so when the song says, I was a child once and you were a little girl, how did your
yeah.
father treat you? What did he do to you?
Yeah.
I want to wrap you in my arms. I want to forget who we are. That was alluding to the fact that what did he do to you?
Right.
It has the intensity of that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the chorus is very catchy, very ideal for, I think, for radio that could have made it. And then, but I don't know. I mean, I still think the rest of the song could have been marketable in that aspect.
Well,
Because
I hope so. I mean, that's very few people know that song.
yeah,
That's one of the last songs I wrote for the Billy Thermal project, and They Didn't See It, and I Need You. That not many people heard those songs, and
yeah,
they just sort of, you know, they're in a shelf somewhere, and at least Chris Mayak likes them.
yeah.
Do you say Mayak or Mayak?
It's Mayak.
Okay.
Then after that is Julie. Was that also about someone you knew?
Well, the song Julie, my mother's name was Louise. And I originally wrote that song and I called it Louise. One. I originally wrote that song and called it Louise. Instead of going Julie, it went Louise. But then
Yeah.
I didn't want my mother to know I'd written it about her. So I changed the name from Louise to Julie. The whole lyric is completely about my mother. It says, you must have been spoiled as a child. They tell me your daddy gave you everything. Impeccable sense of style, a volatile temper, and an emerald ring. I mean, that's her exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I sang that song very well. I don't really have a lot of range as a singer. And when I listen to it now, I'm not really that happy with my vocal on it. But you know who Dave Mason is?
Yeah.
You heard of Dave Mason? He was I think he was in the band Blind Faith or Traffic. Traffic. I think he was in Traffic. And he wrote that song, Feeling All Right, the famous Joe Cocker song.
Yeah.
He once recorded a version of Julie,
Oh, wow.
but it was never released.
Yeah. Wow.
But he
That's cool.
recorded that song. But I don't like to listen to Julie because I just don't like the way I sang it. So I don't know.
So is that your least favorite song off the album?
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Just hold on 1 second. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. There's two songs on there that I don't think that I sang very well. One of them was Julie, and the other one was Mirror Man. And so I don't like to listen to those two songs because I don't like my vocals on them. I like them as songs, but I don't like the way I sang them. So I don't like to listen to them.
Yeah, I was actually gonna go to Mirror Man next, obviously, because that's the next track. I can relate to that a lot too.
Yeah, well, that song is written about my father. That for some reason, that Billy Thermal record, I was going through a lot of personal issues, and
Yeah.
I was writing about my relationship with my parents. And
Mhm.
of course, there are songs on there that are not about my parents. Of course, I'm Your Baby, The Price I Pay, I'm Gonna Follow You, How Do I Make You? Those songs have nothing to do with my parents, but
Yeah.
a few of the songs do.
Uh, were there many other songs that were written or performed live that were going to be meant for an album release back then that you still have somewhere?
Um, well, you have the CD, the Billy Thermal CD on Omnivore.
Yeah.
There's some songs on there that weren't meant to be on the album. Don't Look at Me, Shay Metz, and Fa
Yeah.
Fa Feelings, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are very few other songs. There's just maybe there's 4 or 5. There's 4 or 5 that I have demos of that I didn't think they were good enough to put on this package.
Oh,
But
okay.
they probably have some good qualities, but I left them off.
Were the other few songs that were left off, do you remember what they are? Or were they personal songs too, lyric wise?
Well, there was a song called $11 Pill,
Oh.
and that was kind of it was kind of a song. I mean, some people might think it was a little creepy. It was like it has a line in it about uh, driving by the high school and looking at the girls and buying an $11 pill. I don't know. It was kind of just like a new wave kind of song, but
Yeah.
it was a early one, and I don't know. It was cute, but ultimately I didn't think it was good enough to put on the record. Then there
Yeah.
was another one called Feel Nothing.
Okay.
And that was, it just says, it's something about saying, just a punk attitude of like, I feel nothing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because as a whole, it kind of reminds me. I mean, since there's more dark songs and more personal songs, it reminds me a lot of Cheap Trick's first album because that was very dark and very heavy at times too.
I did work with Rick Nielsen and Robin Zander in the 80s. My partner Tom Kelly and I wrote a song with them called Secret. I think it was on a Robin Zander record. And then also Cheap Trick cut one of our songs called Kiss Me Red.
Yeah, yeah,
Ever hear that song?
yeah,
Yeah. So I did work with Robin and Rick a couple times.
yeah. Are you? And this is an obvious question, but since Pat did, or since you wrote "Sex as a Weapon" for Pat later in the '80s, are you still close with her?
No, I haven't talked with Pat or her husband Neil in quite a long time.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. I actually,
Um,
I actually really regretted giving "Sex as a Weapon" to Pat Benatar because the song "Sex as a Weapon" was really written from a male point of view.
yeah,
It's a guy saying to a girl, "Stop using sex as a weapon."
right.
And the melody in the chorus was really good for Pat Benatar to sing. But if Sex as a Weapon had been recorded by Aerosmith or Bon Jovi or Cheap Trick, I think it could have been a much bigger hit because it would have made sense. It really
Yeah,
makes sense coming from a female point of view.
yeah. I never thought about uh, a band like that recording it because I guess even for the time it came out too, it would have worked really well as a hair metal kind of song.
Well, I don't like hair metal music, so
Oh,
I don't like it at all.
so about
Yeah.
talking a little bit about the I-10 album. How did that come together? Were you and Tom just offered a deal?
Yeah, Tom and I got offered a deal at Epic Records. but it was a very unpleasant experience for me personally, because when I made Billy Thermal, I wrote all the songs myself and I was singing them for better,
Yeah.
or for worse. It was my thing.
Yeah.
And when we got signed to Epic Records, the record executive there, he liked Tom's voice, and we got involved with Keith Olsen and Steve Lukather producing. And Tom and I were writing pop songs, but we were
Yeah.
stuck in there with rock and roll producers. And I just think it didn't really capture what we were best at. We were best at pop music, and they tried to make it like Foreigner or something. And I just think it was just a little off kilter.
Well, personally, I really think that I think that I-10's a good album too. I think it's really well written, really well performed. That's just what I think.
I like a few of the songs. I like I like the song "Taking a Cold Look." I like "Lonely in Each Other's Arms," and
Yeah.
I like "I Don't Want to Lose You." Um, it's a terrible rendition of "Alone." I mean,
Yeah.
"Alone," of course, became a huge hit for Heart, but
Yeah.
when we submitted "Alone" to Heart, we didn't play them that version by I-10. We made a new demo and we rewrote the chorus. If you notice on I-10, the first line of the chorus, it goes, "I always fared well on my own." And
Yeah.
that was really awkward and kind of stiff. And so when Tom and I heard that Hart was looking for a power ballad, we rewrote
Hmm.
the song. We changed the first line of the chorus. So it said, "Till now, I always got by on my own." And then we made a new demo of the song. So Hart never heard the I-10 version. They were given a new demo
Oh,
of the rewritten song.
okay.
I mean, "Alone" is the best song on the I-10 record, but it's a terrible recording of it. It's I don't know why. It just sounds like cardboard to me.
I noticed that there were a few other artists that did their own version of "Easy Way Out" too.
Yeah, I don't know who they are though. I mean, I never really thought much about that song. That's an example of a song that I think was a pop song and it got rocked up a little too much. I don't know. Just to me that's a bit of a throwaway song.
Well, I know that Newton did it and Jack Wagner did it.
Okay. I don't really rate that song. I don't think about it.
Okay. And then around the same time that I-10 came out, right before that, you guys did one of my favorite Rick Field songs, which is "Just One Kiss."
Well, that's the first song that I ever wrote with Tom Kelly.
Oh, okay.
When we met in August of 1981, and right after we met, we wrote "Just One Kiss," the first song we wrote together. So it was uh, it was an important song because it was our first song we wrote together. I wouldn't call it a great song, but I think it's a good little song. It doesn't say very much, you know. If you look at the
Yeah.
song on the Billy Thermal record, those songs say a lot. They're pretty
Yeah.
they're pretty deep songs. You go to "Just One Kiss" and it's just sort of doesn't say much.
Yeah.
I think I had used up a lot of my emotional ammunition writing all those Billy Thermal songs, and it took me a little while to come up with some deep lyrics to write with Tom Kelly.
Yeah. Do you have much of an opinion of Tears in the Night,
I think
that song?
it's a fun song. How do you even know that song?
I know it's Rosemary Butler did it.
Oh, I think it was also recorded by a singer, a really good singer called Luann Barton.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Um,
I think Tears in the Night and Just One Kiss are sort of equal. I like them about the same. I think they're cute songs. I wouldn't call either one a great song, but they're
Yeah.
they're good little songs.
God, that's funny hearing you mention Luann Barton because I love her stuff too, and nobody ever talks about her.
Yeah, more of a she's more in that Lucinda Williams kind of school of sort of halfway between pop and country, and she has a lot of followers, you know, but it's a different type of artist.
And let's see here. And after that, 1984, it was "Keep Your Hands Off My Baby" for Tina Turner.
You know all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's another song that I think is nothing special, really.
Okay.
It was just Tom and I trying to write songs together, but again, a case of me not really arriving with any strong lyrics. It's just a little cute song. That's all I would say.
So, are you more proud of by the time the later '80s came around of your music, of your songs that you wrote with Tom then in comparison with everything before, like 1985 or 84?
Well, I feel like I wrote some of my best songs in Billy Thermal. And then I think
Yeah.
it took Tom and I a while to write songs that I like as well as the Billy Thermal music. But when Tom and I wrote our best work, I think it's better than any of the Billy Thermal stuff. I think songs like True Colors and Eternal Flame and Like a Virgin, I Drove All Night, those songs kind of, they're on another level in terms of the success they had. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I also think I think since the Divinals in the early '80s, they were kind of doing the same dark new wave thing. I could definitely see them covering Billy Thermal songs.
yeah, I was very close friends with Mark McEntee and Chrissy Amplet from the Divinals. We
Yeah,
wrote "I Touch Myself" together, and
yeah,
there's another really great song. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called "I'm Jealous," and that's
yes,
a song that Tom Kelly and I wrote with Chrissy Amplet. I love that song. Um,
yeah,
I think the Divinals were a great group for singing my songs, and I never thought about them singing a Billy Thermal song, but they probably could have done it really good. I would have liked to have heard the Divinals do "I Tell You My Dream."
yeah. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
There's a couple other songs from the later '80s period that I was curious about your opinion on.
Yeah.
Dangerous by Ronnie Spector.
Well, you really know all the most obscure songs.
Yeah,
Um, Again, I think Dangerous is a cute pop song. I don't think when we wrote it, we hoped it was a hit song. It felt like it had hit potential. but whether it was just not recorded very well or whether the song wasn't quite good enough, I don't know. It just never went all the way.
Yeah. And then one thing that kind of surprised me was John Norum from Europe's Sister doing In a Crazy World Like This.
Who?
John Norum, he was the guitarist for Europe, the band, and then his sister, she had a solo deal with Columbia. She did your song In a Crazy World Like This in '88. Oh, did you didn't hear any of that?
I didn't hear that. No.
Oh, um, her name was Tone Norum. She was, I think, Swedish. She did your guys' song in a Crazy World Like This,
When you
1988.
text me that so I can look for it.
Okay.
That song's kind of cool. It's got a good chorus and everything. It was just one more song that kind of had good qualities to it, but didn't go all the way, you know?
Yeah. So it's kind of surprising. I kind of expected that you'd know a lot of the other artists that did your songs, but I guess you didn't know about all of them.
You mean know about them doing the songs or just know them personally?
Or no, well, I guess kind of both, like know who they are and then know that they're doing the song.
Well, some yes and some no. You know, by the time when I wrote Like a Virgin in True Colors, we had our bar was set pretty high. We wanted
Yeah.
to we wanted to write top 10 hits. And
Yeah.
we were no longer trying to make our own record. So if a song fell short and it wasn't a hit single, it always just seemed like usually I look back on it like the ones you're mentioning, songs like Dangerous or In a Crazy World Like This. I don't take great pride in having written those songs, although I think they're decent songs. There are
Yeah.
songs that we wrote that were not hits that I think were strong songs. There are some that I do feel good about.
I'm looking through the credit list for you guys on Discogs now. What are some examples that like what you just mentioned of songs that weren't hits but you think were that you're proud of?
Well, I like the song The River Cried that Patti Smythe recorded.
Oh yeah.
That's a good song.
Yeah, she's great.
Cyndi Lauper also recorded that song, but her version never got released. Tom and I felt that The River Cried could have been a hit song. And then there's one called In the Darkness. I like that song a lot. I don't think it was. In the case of In the Darkness, the best version is the demo with Tom Kelly singing it falsetto. And no one ever recorded it, a great version of it. So that's what happened with that one.
I was also personally curious on the song that you gave to Steve Lukather for his solo album.
Oh yeah, another very obscure one. It Looks Like Rain. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that song. I think it's okay.
Let's see.
I like the song that we wrote with Tina Turner called Look Me in the Heart. I think that's a good song.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I think I probably covered everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been great. I loved. Thank you so much for willing to do this. I loved finally getting the story behind the Billy Thermal album because I've been wondering about that for years.
Well, that's the most anyone's ever asked me about the Billy Thermal record. When people interview me, they always want to talk about True Colors or I Drove All Night or Like a Virgin. Nobody
Yeah.
nobody wants to talk about Billy Thermal, so I enjoyed talking about those songs.
Yeah, it was,
I didn't mention I Tell You My Dream. You don't like that one particularly?
no, I like it. I didn't ask about it because I know the little or the some of the meaning behind the song is written in the booklet.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I kind of that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah, it was cool seeing the little, even though you couldn't see like the whole music video, it was cool seeing the part of the music video in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, well, um, the music video, it had a whole sequence with my ex-wife in it, so I didn't really want to put it out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's understandable.
yeah,
Well, yeah, thank you so much for willing to do this. It was really
yeah,
great for me.
yeah, of course. Yeah,
I'll get this put up on YouTube on my channel, and then I'll
yeah.
put it
Tell
on
me how to
Facebook.
find it, okay? Send me a
Okay.
text. Tell me how to find it so I can look at it.
Yeah, I will. Okay. Thank you.
Good luck to you, Chris.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.